Regular council meeting for November 12th, 2024. I would like to recognize that we are gathering and governing on the unceded traditional territory of what is now known as the Comox Nation.
Probably the strongest example of regional tourism like in Western Canada that I can think of. Like to be able to and offering subsidy, and then, which has been really great. Community building, like engines over there, making projects. So that's based in Vancouver, but they come to picnic shelter and then finally get this one done. Just delving into operational stuff quickly. This year, the Village and Lake Park Society, as Kevin mentioned, worked together to really improve visitor management, experience, and safety. So the Village funded us to hire safety foot patrols. So we brought them in on Friday nights and Saturday and Sundays in July and August. And this was provided a sense of like calm and order. They educated users who don't necessarily know the rules. They're not checking in at the campground if they're not campers. And they're really good at getting compliance in a very nice and gentle way, in a way that we weren't able to do ourselves. And it meant that we could put more of our young staff out in outreach and education positions because we felt like they had safety backup, like someone they could radio if something went wrong. So I think this is really great just for people to be able to check the conditions, see how busy it is before they come out. Anecdotally, I heard people really appreciated this. I know personally I used it when I was coming out on the weekends to see how busy it was. Accessibility, inclusion, and reconciliation are really central to our values and to our impact. So for a long time, we've been putting a lot of effort into financial inclusivity at the park and in our programs. So this is a bit of our wish list that we're going to work on for next year and the following years. Working also with the Village of Cumberland and writing grants. So we want to install accessible beach mats in multiple locations, purchase a water wheelchair. There's a photo of one there. That the community can use for free, purchase a beach or all-terrain wheelchair for the community and also for our school programs, install adaptive. It's kind of where our focus is going for the next year or two. In terms of reconciliation, all of our programs are based in the First Peoples Principles of Learning, and all our content is shared with permission from the Comox First Nation. And then new this year for us, 1% of our revenues are being transferred to local Indigenous organizations. Specifically, 0.5% is given to the Village, which is then matched by the Village. We transfer to a local, non-governmental, nonprofit Indigenous organization. So this is a way for us to just put some meaning and action behind our territorial acknowledgement that we have, trying to put reconciliation into some kind of action. Finally, people, planet, and prosperity relates to how we operate as a business. Obviously, we want to be financially stable, but also in youth, high school students, post-secondary students, and young adults, so that they can have a great local work experience. And we really take this responsibility of having first-time employees really seriously. We work hard to mentor them and coach them to be great employees, give them diverse work opportunities. We pay for certifications such as OFA Level 1 for them as well. And then we have a whole lot of different community. In terms of environmental sustainability, we work hard on waste diversion. We have a general recycling and a returnable bin at every garbage bin. We avoid adding new fossil fuel connections. We actually trenched electricity all the way out to the sleeping barrels, and we're currently putting in heat pumps, even though it might have been cheaper to use propane or wood stoves or something. And then we do a variety of revegetation work every year, including this year around the nature play space. We put in new stability for us. The occupancy was 75%, which is in line with the average of the last couple years. I talked about the revenue share already. And then we installed 5 new sleeping barrels, thanks to grants from the BC Destination Development Fund and Island Coastal Economic Trust. And these, the first month nobody knew about them, but by July and August they were completely sold out, and they ended up with an average occupancy rate higher than the were in April with the sleeping barrels and the serviced RV sites. So with that, I'll end my presentation. Thank you to all the staff that work out there, to the board of directors, volunteer community members, and to the Village for their ongoing support.
And thank you for all you do out there. That was great. Thank you. Questions, council?
This gets better every year, and
Thanks.
I look forward to you coming every year to tell us all about this awesome stuff, and just keep going. Thanks.
Well, thanks.
Just, I was out there checking out Sleeping Barrels and was surprised about the heat pump. So are they operational right now, or they're just, you still have to get the electricity out there?
Oh, yeah, they're operational.
Oh, it was,
Yeah.
anyway, fantastic job. And
Yeah.
this is such a great example of a partnership like that.
Well said. Thank you also for a very fulsome report that we've got on our agenda. I did note one issue. There's I believe, continuing problem with motorized rental operators. It may not be a question for you. It may be one as operating within the village of Cumberland. They would need a business license, and would that business license be a way of enforcing them not being on our lake?
Electoral area C, I think.
C.
So we're subject to CVRD bylaw when it comes to that. So enforcement of several bylaws is tricky on that front. I know the CVRD's been engaged around that issue, but it's part of some larger challenges with jurisdiction, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I believe one may be operated within Cumberland, which may give us a different.
Not doing their business in our community. Yep, it's another one of those Lake Park conundrums. Yep. But something we can follow up on for sure. Councillor Therrien, did you have anything?
No, I don't have any questions, but thanks for everything you're doing out there. This knocking it out of the park again. It's great.
Yeah. So I have questions. I have a few things.
Yep.
Something that's it's basically everyone. That's awesome. And varying levels as well, which I super appreciate. It's not just littles, it's all ages. I also note, related to the last question, that 57% of the boat licenses are going to Courtenay residents, so just of note. You have an off-season section, and I know that there used to be a camp post over the winter. Is there still?
No.
It's
there's-
not, okay.
No.
So you just have staff going
Have
out and
staff go
patrolling?
there once a week if it's just a job.
Yeah, totally. Okay, and then a question I think for staff, which is, does the revenue share from the lake park go just into general revenue? Does it go into recreation? What do we do with that?
It goes into general revenue. It has, it's transitioning towards a reserve. So it previously went into general revenue, and we were trying to budget equivalent. So that's now going into a reserve that is meant to support capital infrastructure improvements.
Awesome.
With the idea that eventually we'll get to the point where, we should be putting, this year it was 50,000. It's going to go down a little bit as we remove RV campsites. Well, we'll see. It may increase based on
Water upgrade, maybe.
water, a new office
Septic,
are the
office.
two
Oh, right,
big
the building.
ticket items coming
Right,
up.
that first.
Life
Okay.
cycle costs of Sleeping Barrels.
Yeah, yeah. And also appreciate the consideration of extending the season, because I think, especially with the rain barrels, but just given the uncertain math properly, but I'm looking at the boating licenses, and it looks to me like there are 103 annual licenses, and then 679 like day passes. So those day passes are each day. Like, that doesn't mean that potentially we could have 700 boats on the lake at one time.
No,
That's
yeah.
spread over how many we give out for a day.
No. We mostly just try to convince people to buy them.
Yes, at this
Yeah.
point. That's good. Yeah. We'll start there and then go
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I think that's all I had. And I think there's probably something on our agenda to receive that report. Somebody,
Thank you.
thanks Jen so much for
Alright.
being here. I also used you campground.
I'll make the
Okay, so-
motion to receive, that council receive the Cumberland Lake Park Annual Report presentation from Genevieve Burdette, Executive Director of the Lake Park Society.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor? Nobody's opposed to that? Nope. Okay. Sorry, I'm on two different, my agenda is separate. Okay, so now we have Elevate the Arts. You're welcome to sit if you'd like while he does this thing.
I'll try to be quick.
Yeah. It's a race now.
So starting a few years ago, the village's recreation section began contracting out some of our community events to Elevate the Art Society rather than to individual contractors. Starting with the Halloween event, eventually adding the Easter event, and then of course the small Christmas tree lighting ceremony be added. So that happened last year, and it's happening again this year. And then during budget planning 2023, council had given staff some direction to enter into a community service partnership agreement with Elevate for the delivery of these events. But because we and that would have been for 2024 through 27. But because we already had a contract in place for the 2024 Easter event, what we did was we just extended that one to 2 years. It's on the same schedule as the other agreements. So that agreement is going to come to council at another date. Today, we just wanted to give Elevate a chance to report to council on the 2024 events. So unless there are any other questions right away for me, then I'll turn it over to Megan Kersons of Elevate.
Thank you, Ryan. Come on up, Megan Kersons of Elevate.
Yeah, take that hat. Hello, thank you for, that's why I'm here. So I was going to use this as a very quick opportunity just to provide a little bit of context also about who we are with this service agreement. So the Elevate Art Society is a registered not-for-profit production company. So in fact, we are also a social enterprise. We were formed in 2012. We produced an Elevate Arts Festival in Courtenay between 2012 and 2018. And we provide production services for a variety of clients. We also produce the Valley Edge Choir, Moonlight and Magic, the Music in the Park series in Comox, and Music at Market Day as part of Courtenay Market Day. We produce Village Market Day and Foggy Mountain Fall Fair and pop-up events like Lunar New Year, also the Music Trivia event, as revenue projects for our organization. So we have projects we do as art creators and producers, and we have projects that we do to create revenue to support that. All of our revenues after expenses are used to the Cumberland School Band Program, the Cumberland Kids Choir, which we launched just before COVID. We did our concert on March 15th, 2020. That was fun. This concert series, we support the Wood Stove in the Schools Project, the Big Island Book Fest, Pulse on the Plaza, and the Villagers Winter Solstice. And then I was having fun because I was finding posters of all these events that we've worked on over the years, everything from producing Nomadic Tempest with Caravan Theatre on the Courtenay River, which was the strangest thing ever, to a reading. Elevate partnership is centered on core civic celebrations that benefit the broadest community and mark the changing seasons of our little village. Elevate concert series, Easter, Halloween, and Tree Light Up. So the summer concert series has a $14,600 budget. Half of those funds are raised by Elevate Art Society. The other half are provided by the village. We do 7 dates in July and August. We've oscillated between 7 and 8. We have over 40 artists involved this year in the series. We have a paid production team, so our sound and production people are all paid. Local restaurants, which I'll name at the end, are involved in providing food and accommodation. We do a mix of visiting and local artists in the spirit of promoting cultural exchange, because that's how we grow as artists in our own community, is having the opportunity to hear artists from away, also emerging artists, youth artists, and artists from diverse backgrounds. We had approximately 2,500 attendees over the series, and the attendance has grown. The artists, you guys were there at many of them. We do everything from the singer-songwriter genre to big bands and horn bands, and oscillate between the two. Usually depends on who's advocating for which act. So you can guess what Bobby goes for or what I go for. Anyhow. So Hop and Seek is the other event that we had launched this year. This is also in response to some of the challenges of fittest tradition and Easter egg hunts into something that was more equity informed and maybe a little easier on the nervous system of families and children. So we had 2 layers to that program. They were both scavenger hunts. The little kids one was based on all of these stuffies we've been collecting of animals that are in local ecosystems, and then we tied them up and hid them throughout Number 6 Park. Neil was there helping us that day too, and they have a map, and they have to go find the little creek poster boards, again with different species and species at risk that live in the wetlands, and a little scavenger map to go seek out those creatures. And once you'd finished your map, and we were not very rigorous in the marking, but if you said you'd finished your map, you came back and you received treats. We collaborated with Cumberland Community Schools Society. We've worked with them on this and on Halloween. The Tree Light Up. It meets their mandate in terms of having a presence in the trade treats. This is another feedback loop around some of the significant issues around the purchasing of chocolates and other candies, the politics of that, and health issues. So this year we were able to source chocolate tests, interesting, chocolate eggs through Dark Side Chocolates, a reflection of good social procurement policy, which the village has. Worked with stickers and Jelly Bellies, which we're producing in California, so we're still trying to work on Workini and the owl and the turtles and the squirrel. And Luke the kangaroo then came down when the group convened and put on a show, which was lots of fun. He turned all the kids into monsters and dragons. So Halloween is another one where we're doing this shift, changing the emphasis from trick-or-treating to the costume parade, dancing, and community connection. We call it the Villagers All Hallows Eve Parade and Street Party. We provide an outreach to local businesses. We get people really enthusiastic and some people aren't. We're trying to get the community to see it as a street party and street parade, and those businesses that want to do the trick-or-treating part is great. And then we encourage nonprofits to come out on the street. So this year, the Cumberland Forest Society joined us as well. Don't have to be all on the merchants. And anytime we got that feedback, we invited them to make whatever choice they want. People are not going door to door and checking who's there or not. It's really obvious when you're out on the street, and it's totally cool. Whatever. Maybe you want to be out trick-or-treating at that time and not giving out candy. We coordinate the volunteers, hire production crew and DJs, deal with the marketing and communications. And most of you were there, so I don't have any photos. Tree Light Up is, again, coordination of music and infrastructure, outreach to special guests, and the Valley Edge Choir leads community sing-along. There's some photos from last year. It was really sweet. We kind of created a ring of tents and lights, and we had fire pits and Christmas lights, and it's quite lovely. Again, sometimes feel like we're outgrowing the square. This is one of those ones where we really feel the pressure. Upcoming, the Villagers Tree Light Up this year is on November 29th, 2024. And this is last year's poster, but another event that we're involved in, as well as several other community nonprofits, is the Villagers Sacred Solstice. There's multiple community organizations now involved in that event. So just in proof that Elevate is definitely extends beyond me, I definitely want to give a shout out to Bobby Heron and Alan Jossel. I didn't put Kara on there. Oh my God. And Kara McHugh. It's because she's working remotely. So she's our administrator who works remotely. Bobby does all of the music programming. Alan is the tech. And we've had people like Luke and Heather, Mark Berge, Meg Trumbull, Simon Davies, collage, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions, anybody? No.
I
That's
don't
awesome.
like Halloween.
Keep it up.
Kind of
We
like
clearly like Halloween.
clearly, it's a non-controversial presentation, I would hope.
I think it's another great example of a partnership that upskills of the Elevate crew for all you do outside of the whatever four things that we sponsor.
It's really
or
cool
partner
because
on.
when you look at the list, it really interweaves with other events and production talent, right? So then what we're also able to do is when you think about the people like Mark Berge, for example, who ends up now working with Woodstove, and he works with Elevate. And so we're just sort of extending also that opportunity for people who are in production and music and sound, right?
Yeah, and building next times 5.
As a first-time business at the Halloween, that was a lot.
It's a lot.
That's all I'll say at this point.
Yeah, everyone loves Halloween.
So you want a recommendation?
Yes, please. Thank you. I'm just trying to find my place.
So I recommend that Council receive a 2024 Elevate the Arts Community Events presentation from Megan Kirsons of Elevate the Arts Society.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor of that? And that's everybody. That's carried. Oh, Bob Maryport. Hello, Seamus. Hello, Courtney.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the purpose of this report is to request Council decision regarding a development variance permit and request for encroachment agreement to authorize a reconstructed garage converted into a home office at 2815 Maryport Avenue. The variances include written meters. The applicant is also requesting to enter into an encroachment agreement with the village as a portion of the garage encroaches into the laneway at the rear of the property. So for background, the subject accessory building on the property is located approximately at the corner of Maryport and 6th Street and has been, zoning bylaw at the time had a minimum side setback of 1.5 meters and a zero rear lot line setback for accessory buildings. A survey from the 1990s demonstrates the building encroaching into the laneway from anywhere between 0.52 to 0.58 meters for the building's length of 7.5 meters. The laneway in the area is about 3 meters wide, so this in the encroachment area, the lane is effectively 2.42. Only look to resolve them should there be a utility upgrade occurring in the area, or if a development file such as a building permit is received. So in this particular instance, the nature of the encroachment and setback variance requests were discovered at time of a building permit application, resulting from a stop work order posted in February of 2024 after it was revealed that renos were conducted without the benefit of a building permit. And upon attendance, staff observed new windows, plumbing, and reframing, and as such, these works would have including moving the building fully onto the property, moving the building onto the property with a smaller variance request, or removing the encroachment entirely. However, the owner wished to proceed with the presented option tonight. Staff are recommending that Council deny the variance and decline to enter into the encroachment agreement for the following reasons. So on the variance side, it does not appear that the ADU was proposed on the property with a lesser variance request. The structure in question is about 32 meters squared in size, so it is possible that this building could be moved or rebuilt on the property without encroachment into the laneway, or as a benefit to the community as it helps build the character of some of the laneways. However, it is unclear that if this garage was moved or removed, that character would be lost. The encroachment itself is of concern to the village's long-term planning, specifically civil and stormwater upgrades. So this laneway is an impediment posed by the building. So this can include the involvement of heavy equipment as we are digging up the laneway. As such, we'll likely have to procure more specialized equipment like smaller excavators and the like, which will of course come with an additional cost. There's also the issue of having to design around the building itself as well, which again will also cause that project to see potentially increased costs as well. There's also the question of current maintenance for the truck or the backhoe. Just as an example, the village's backhoe is approximately 3 meters wide, so if there's an encroachment of eating into that lane dedication area, it does make operations in the laneway and maintenance more challenging. So again, that could result in more specialized equipment being involved to conduct repairs. The laneway, of course, is also a public asset, and by authorizing an encroachment agreement, this piece, there is expected to be more development in the area, including fourplexes, for example. So this will result in some additional pressure placed on people looking to access the laneway as well. Of course, though, Council does have the ability to approve both the variances and the encroachment agreement if desired, with some draft terms and conditions of the encroachment agreement found. Thank you.
Thanks, Seamus. Questions, Council?
Yeah. Okay.
Troy always has to go first. Thank you, Troy.
I always get to go first. Thanks for that, Seamus. Now, like, I know there are a number of encroachments. We're currently just kind of turning a blind eye to them until it comes time that we need to use the alley? Is that a fair characterization of what we're doing?
Yeah, it's as they're flagged. So if someone comes in for a building permit and those are kind of the two times that we are going and resolving encroachments. We aren't acting on a proactive basis at this time, though.
Okay. And this property had asked for a permit in 2019 for an ADU, and that's sort of when this one came to light.
Staff did support a variance to approve the ADU on the property with the condition that the encroaching garage be removed.
Okay.
It wasn't sorry, and I should just clarify, it wasn't a condition of the variance. It was just noted that would be done inside the staff report at that time.
Okay. As much as it is the building, when we do have to go in, assuming that we deny this variance, when we do have to go in and repair that alleyway, what happens to that slab? How the work site? How do we proceed at that point?
I think it might depend on the circumstances at that time and what's on top of the slab at that time. These storm sewer separation project hasn't been designed. So although Seamus has outlined all the information that we have now about our typical equipment And, also noted that because that this encroachment could be worked around in the short term. And the advice that's being given, though, is that making the encroachment permanent completely would remove the ability to have any other options should the village not be able.
Follow up on, is it, so if we needed to get into that alley like tomorrow, if the storm sewer broke or something terrible happened in there and we had to get in and that building was in the way, like what actual to work around?
I think that currently it can be worked around.
Yeah.
Because there isn't an obstruction on the property on the other side of the lane. It would maybe involve trespass, using the other property to get around it. Options in lanes, sometimes it's vegetation, like big thorny blackberry bushes, fences, clotheslines, etc. And when there's options available to do that, then that's what's done. And the issue here is that those are temporary.
Yeah.
And we're certainly would never look to remove a building unless it was absolutely necessary. But there are certainly foreseeable situations where we could say it would absolutely be necessary. A fence, blackberries. And in this situation, it would be something of very high value if this construction was completed, which is different.
And so, obtaining these buildings, I think the applicant is right. It makes our village alleys quirky and weird and all the things we love about the alleys in Cumberland. And I also see that there's an issue here with making it a permanently allowed thing. So with an encroachment, can't get in there or can't deal with the situation because the person on the other side is built out to their lot line or whatever situation unfolds, then we would have to build those like safety or risk mitigation. Question around that is like, what's the cost in sort of staff time to enable an encroachment and then to deal with the encroachment in an ongoing way? And even if we build in those risk mitigating factors, should we need to move the build encroachment until, say, a temporary encroachment until 2029, at which point they move the building onto the property because we need access to the alley? And that gives them 4 years or whatever it is to...
In the staff report, we did draft up some recommended terms and conditions for an encroachment agreement should council wish to go in that direction. And that does involve, there does involve a clause here, just looking at point F in the staff report for increased costs of maintenance or works in the lane related to the location of the building in the lane, and staff may give an estimate of increased costs. So we can certainly put that in the encroachment agreement, and it would hopefully cover some of those concerns.
And will require more legal advice. Do you guys have that already? Is it a fairly simple process moving forward, or?
Yeah, and I think we got, just working on this file, we've definitely gotten a good framework of what is required. And I think right now at this stage, and Courtney can, yeah.
And then how does it set us up for future, like you did that for those guys, and my building's 2 feet into the alley or whatever.
Yeah, maybe I could just add something, if you don't mind, to the last response. I think that there would do that with the applicant. It's hard to anticipate how much time that would take, but it would certainly take staff time. And then in the future, should the village need to activate a clause that this building needs to be removed, then that is quite a bit of building would then be, it could be more of an impact to the owners because they might have finished the project using the building, which they aren't doing now. And then to your other question, could you say that again?
Well, now what happens?
Right, so when you say like turning into an accessory dwelling unit.
So if someone decides to live in there.
Okay, so would they, and like in this scenario, we'll say like they get a second building permit to convert to an ADU, or?
That didn't happen the first time. I'm not sure if it would happen the second time.
Yeah.
And our report clearly says that's not okay. And so now we're into a bylaw enforcement situation, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. So that would be conversion to a suite without building permit, or
And at that point, they could choose to move the building. Maybe not.
I don't know. I don't understand necessarily a connection between the location of the building currently and wanting to use it as a residence.
Right.
Not comfortable with. So I'll be supporting staff.
Go ahead.
Can I ask it, just to clarify something that in an answer you gave to Councillor Turian, and apologise that because I wasn't sitting here when the first report came. Were both the applicant?
Yes, so no, just for clarity, no building permit was ever issued for the accessory dwelling unit. However, the nature of the encroachment of this existing structure was identified in 2019 to both the village and applicant.
Okay.
There was a
thank you.
DP applied for.
That's correct, yes. Sorry, I didn't clarify there was a DP for an ADU as well as
The encroachment, that's effectively that we are giving away public land to a private owner. That's effectively what's happening, right? We're
Yes.
giving a private owner use of a public land.
private use of a public asset, yes.
Yes. Do they buy that land from us? What?
Called the encroachment agreement, and we use this in the community frequently on Dunsmuir specifically for things like awnings and hanging signs. So that's one of the tools, and I don't believe there's any financial compensation. In the ones I've processed, I've never requested that.
All right. Because if it was two private owners, so the potential agreement we just talked about, agreeing to remove or relocate a building within 60 days notice just seems impossible to me. That, I can't get a plumber on 60 days notice. So, I see this as being sadly very straightforward. Yeah.
I'll just chip in incredibly tight. Just having worked in other jurisdictions, it's been pretty cut and dried, and legal advice we've received both here with the village and with my work with other places where there's been very large scale encroachments. It's a number of these, and it will have a ripple effect, I think, of sending the word out that it'll be okay to just beef these up. And I know of a couple folks that have come to me saying, do you think this is a good idea if I just go ahead? And it's like, you might want to check on that, particularly surrounding the additional costs, a private cost to the public taxpayer, and I don't think that's something we want to. That's not a road we really want to go down. So, my regrets. I'm so sorry.
Okay, having heard from everyone, there's a recommendation there.
6 District Lot 21, Nelston District Plan 522, C2815 Maryport Avenue, and that council declines to enter into an encroachment agreement with the owner of the subject property to legitimize the trespass of accessory building into the village's public laneway.
I will second that.
And all in favor? That there. So next up is appointments to Vancouver Island Regional Library Board. Rachel, would you like to speak to this, or shall we just go ahead? There's a recommendation there. Council.
Move the council.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. And next up is Committee of the Whole Report 2025-2029 Financial Plan, the big long list of things.
Yeah, my whole public audience just left.
Try not to take it personally.
But our online numbers just went through the roof.
Yeah, I bet you. Okay, so the purpose of this report is to present recommendations made by the Committee of the Whole at the conclusion of its financial plan workshops held on October 7th, 15th and the 21st of this year. Changes. Council released these changes to the public at that meeting. As to the background, the Committee of the Whole reviewed the impact of the financial plan on property taxes, reviewed financial policies, plan policies, and emergency and public safety reserve by 150,000 to fund the initiatives that required a tax increase.
Furthermore, Council made budget changes at the October 28 closed session meeting for staffing requests, and those changes are included in the financial plan as to add about 110K in 2026 for a climate action coordinator, temporary full-time, to add nearly 72K in 2025 and 100. In that same October 28 meeting, Council directed staff to use the general financial stabilization reserve to stabilize taxes in the 2026 to 2029 years. A parking lot issue that was not resolved during the committee budget staff can provide this review without a facilitator and can use existing graphics budgets for this process. This strategic plan review of $4,500 is currently included in the financial plan at this meeting. If Council wishes to, with the use of the 150,000 that would have been contributed to the Emergency and Public Safety Reserve, there is no tax impact from the budget changes on the projected 2025 property taxes. Therefore, the projected property recommendations by the Committee of the Whole, the draft 2025-29 financial plan bylaw will be brought forward at the November 18 Village Hall meeting for community consultation with the following property tax increases: the 7.83%, 7.7% for 2028, and last but not least, 4.16% for 2029. And with the budget changes above, there will only be a slight change in the water utility fee for 2026 to 2029. There's no change for 2025, and these budget changes, there will be. So I am reporting the following recommendations made by the Committee of the Whole. First, that Council make a one-time reduction of $150,000 annually beginning in 2020 for linear asset renewal after asset management plan completion. That Council make the specified changes to the draft 2025-2029 detailed budgets. Those requests are included in the 25-29 financial plan to be presented to the public 19 when Council considers the financial plan for the first reading, which is expected at the November 25 Council meeting. And I believe that ends my presentation.
Just for clarification, and some of these items that we've put in are, for instance, add $10,000 in 2029 for climate action corporate renewable energy study. Do these show up again in future budget considerations, or are, once we set these, do they kind of go behind the scenes and just become part of the budget, and then it's not really?
These budget items will show up again. So this is a new addition and becomes part of the base then for the next financial plan.
Yes, but we
don't always
often see the base when we are doing comes the base items.
Yeah, so when each department brings us their budget requests, it doesn't necessarily tell us what we've approved in previous financial plans,
No.
but it would turn up in the four-year
In the work-
financial plan.
It's for those ongoing operational costs
Right.
that once they're in, you don't see.
But if we're adding something in that year, then it should show up in that year coming to
Yeah.
council. or the
Okay,
year-
yeah,
years
I
before.
just don't want it to seem like we're hiding things.
Yeah.
29.
Yeah, sorry I missed that. That this is really a one-time item. It's not an annual item, so it will not become
Yeah.
part of the base. It is the 2029. When 2030 comes around, it won't be there unless you decide to add it back as a new item for 2020-30.
Okay.
For those types of reasons, but we arrived at the conclusion that it really needed to be the full 5-year plan in order to form base budgets in those future years, so that council can see what the projected impacts of this are, given these projects are at this point in time included.
Okay, good.
If that
Thank you.
helps.
Yeah,
Yep, that helps a lot.
that's awesome. Anybody else? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Carry on.
Nope, that's
That's it?
all for the moment. I thought there was something else, but I can't think of it right at the moment.
Anybody else?
And $4,500 on a facilitator once the OCP is completed, or whether we should just do it in-house, given that we've only got a year and a half strategic plan when the OCP was completed, but we thought that that would have been done by now, and we'd have a full half a term left. But it's going to be considerably less than that when this does roll around.
Yeah, so normally we would do plan, at least I think that's what we've done. Am I making that up? Anyway, I think that's what we do. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's still valuable to do, especially because we didn't do it because we were doing OCP and doing all this other engagement. So I still think it's a good idea, and I always think it's better to get to facilitate a strategic planning that I'm trying to participate in. But
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely agreed. It's not that you're not qualified, it's that the same reason as staff. It's that a
We're trying to
facilitator allows us
participate.
all to fully participate, also potentially brings new ideas and ways of approaching the problem, of approaching the planning plan. And I take the point that there may only be 18 months remaining, but I think that's still a valid piece. If we do get down to only a year remaining, I might have a different view on that.
And if that's the case, then we'll have one more budget session to talk about it.
right, yeah. And because should we all vanish and it's a brand new group of people, they might like a place to start, you know?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So there's a recommendation there, probably.
Okay, I'll do a bunch of reading here. Dollars annually beginning in 2025 to the Emergency and Public Safety Reserve. The council directs staff to bring back an analysis of frontage taxes charge for linear asset renewal after asset management plan completion. The council make the specified changes below list. The council directs staff to report back at the 2026 budget workshop on sponsorship opportunities for 2026 Village Park Playground resurfacing. Explore grant funding for the 2020 channel definition project. Schedule a delegation of the Beaufort Family Health Society to provide information on financially sustainable model. Explore whether to prioritize the IT initiative, threat-aware deployment and education. Provide a report on inventory and needs planning. And that council directs staff to bring forward a review of the 2025 water system and wastewater capital debt parcel taxes on the basis of user consumption rates for 2026 financial planning.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor? No,
The strategic planning?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, next up is Deputy Fire
Thank you.
Chief Truck. Yes, thank you so much, Andre. Repairing for your truck.
Yes.
We just did the budget, so. Sorry. For future
my
reference. I know, I'm sure it's not, Stefan. I'm sure you drive it like,
I try like really
so, yes.
no. The mayor and council, the recommendation is to approve a repair of a duty officer truck for replacing the engine of 14. The bit of background of the truck was when I joined the Cumberland Fire Department, to ease the job and all the obligation I had to do as a duty officer, inspection, prevention, and all that thing, it's a lot easier to have a second vehicle. And the people was always thinking then, because we had Unit 5, but Unit 5 is a fire apparatus vehicle, they can go in as an attack team, and that can bring revenue in the department and the village down the road. That's why the duty officer, the deputy chief vehicle is an asset for us to be able to do our job. Like that, if the chief is away to Courtney, Comox, or having a meeting here, this is the reason why we would like to repair that engine.
And that, it looks like in the report, that $14,000 you figure is going to get us another 10 years out of that vehicle.
About 9 to 10 years. Yeah, that's what we accumulate. And it is an older truck. We bought to sell the truck, and they gave us a first report of what was needed to be done. We get it done for under the budget, a lot under the budget. Even when we've put the $14,000 on it, we're still under the budget of what we had planned in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's for us, it's a good asset, and it's going to extend the life for another 9 to 10 years.
And we're
Years, what a deal.
yeah.
$1,400 a year, it seems,
It's free almost.
yep.
All right. I'd like to move that council approve the repair of the Deputy Fire Chief Truck, Unit 3, for Cumberland Fire Rescue at a cost of up to $14,000 to be funded from the fire vehicle and bylaw to reflect this expenditure.
Second.
All in favor? And that is carried unanimously.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. And now we are on to notices, motions, and announcements. Please do check the website before you come to any of these meetings. Tuesday, November 14th at 4 p.m. and Village Hall Financial Plan, Monday, November 18th at 7 p.m. Do we have any questions online because no one's here?